Okay, welcome Year 12s to this week's video. And lucky for you guys, there is only one video this week and it is going to be very short, well, comparatively shorter. As you know, we've been talking about speciation, and speciation is just the formation of two new species. We can see this as a branch from the phylogenetic tree where a common ancestor will branch into two new species. Now, we've previously spoken about clines or clinal variation, so you should have an idea of what a cline is. And today we're going to talk about geographical isolates and zones of hybridization. Now, we know that all populations will exhibit one of these three things. Okay, so clines, geographical isolates, or zones of hybridization. So I've just explained this already, and today the two that we're looking at are on the screen. Okay, so what is geographical isolation? It's very simple. It's exactly what it sounds like. It's when two populations are geographically isolated. So this prevents, it might be a physical extrinsic barrier which prevents that gene flow. Remember, the gene flow is just the mixing of alleles and genes through breeding. Okay, so it prevents this free gene flow or gene exchange with other populations of the same species. So this isolation over time changes behavioral, morphological, and physiological features. Okay, so the three things that may happen over time is that they'll become a different species, and this is quite common when you get that isolation. They may die out, and they may re-establish contact after time and maybe hybridize again into the same species. Now, to become a different species, obviously you need selection pressures, which will be adapting those populations to become different. So, an example of this, and I've spoken about this in class, is when you have a bushfire in a forested area. So then you'll get two forested areas being separated by a grassland in the middle, and this forms a barrier, a geographical isolate for mammal populations, which again may cause them to either become different species, die out, or then they may re-establish contact. Okay, the next one is hybrid belts or zones of hybridization. Okay, so zones of hybridization is almost the next step after geographical isolates. So it happens when you have geographical isolates, but then a change in the environment causes these isolates to expand, so almost to come sort of back together, and then species which were initially isolated re-establish contact and start to interbreed, creating this hybrid zone. Okay, so you might have had species that were slowly adapting to their environments, but then come back together, and then you'll have a hybrid species in the middle. Okay, and this happens typically due to fluctuations in climatic change. An example of this, as you can see on the screen, we've had a lot of drought in Australia, as you know. So we had drought conditions for a long time, which caused isolation of forest-dwelling birds to coastal locations where there was a lot more water, so they were able to survive and adapt in those locations. But when there was an increase in rainfall, they had these zones where they were living expand, and they had some overlapping, which caused these zones of hybridization. So these birds then would re-establish contact and started interbreeding if they were able to, because remember, two totally different species cannot interbreed. Interbreeding, then causing hybridization to occur. Okay, I'll see you guys later.